Welcome back to our series on the Laws of Power by Robert Greene. In this video, we're going to discuss the second law of power. Never put too much trust in friends, learn how to use enemies. This law is all about understanding the potential dangers of trusting your friends too much, and the benefits of using your enemies to your advantage. It suggests that you should be cautious of those close to you, and also learn to identify and leverage your enemy's weaknesses to gain an advantage. The motive of this law is that friends can gloat and take advantage of our trust, while enemies are motivated to be engaged in a tussle for power. By learning to use your enemies to your advantage, you can turn their ambition against them and ultimately gain the upper hand. However, it's important to note that this law is not about making enemies for the sake of it, or about betraying your friends. Rather, it's about being strategic and recognizing that power dynamics can shift quickly and unexpectedly. To implement this law effectively, you need to be aware of the subtle ways in which your friends and enemies may be trying to gain power over you. You also need to be strategic in identifying and leveraging your enemy's weaknesses, without making yourself vulnerable to their attacks. Now let us discuss some practical tips for implementing the second law of power in real life. The key to implementing this law effectively is to be aware of the power dynamics in your relationships. You need to be cautious of those who may be trying to gain power over you, and identify those who may be potential allies or enemies. To identify your enemies, you need to look for signs of their ambition and their desire to gain power over you. This can include things like gossiping behind your back, belittling you in front of others, or actively trying to undermine your position. Once you've identified your enemies, you need to learn how to use their weaknesses to your advantage. This can involve things like exposing their own weaknesses or leveraging their desire for power to gain an advantage in a situation. However, it's important to remember that this law is not about making enemies for the sake of it. Rather, it's about being strategic and recognizing that power dynamics can shift quickly and unexpectedly. You should also be careful not to make yourself too vulnerable to your enemy's attacks, and to maintain a certain level of trust with your friends. Finally, the second law of power creates awareness of potential dangers of trusting friends so much, and the benefits of taking advantage of enemies. Being strategic and grasping power dynamics, you can ultimately gain the upper hand and succeed in your goal. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check our next video. We will discuss the third law of power: conceal your intentions.